What is your experience with meditation? I don't have an experience with meditation. I don't do it at all. I spend a lot of time thinking. Like if I'm out doing something, like I'll put aside some hours to like think about stuff, but I don't like sit down and do like full on meditation or whatever. I don't know how comparable the two experiences are. Usually, if there's some idea that I'm not comfortable with, I'll like put aside mentally sometime later to like go over it for a few hours until I feel like I've reached a good conclusion. And then sometimes I'll write things down to keep track of my thoughts on that. Can you give an example of how you go through something you need to figure out? Sure, if I'm having a conversation with somebody or if I'm presented with an idea that I don't feel like I can articulate a good response to, I'll just at some point in the future, I'll put aside some number of hours if I'm driving or if I've got an errand to run or if I'm just like chilling on my own, where I'll just kind of like start to like think through the thoughts a little bit more, like how would I explain this to somebody else? What would the counter arguments be? And then I just kind of run that down in my head until I feel like I've got either a good response, or if the idea is indefensible, then I abandon it and I search for something more reasonable. I don't know how else to explain that. So like the vegan shit, when I was at Devon's a while ago, I woke up kind of early and I spent like 6 hours jotting down ideas on a notepad to figure out like which direction I needed to go to have like better answers to the things that the questions that Whoop Boop posed me. Do you feel like you lost the debate to Whoop Boop? Not really. I mean, or I guess, sure. I felt like I didn't have the, I was basically challenged to a level that was more fundamental than what I'd thought of previously. But the problem is that as I drilled down on that more, and now I'm more comfortable with where all of my fundamental beliefs come from, I think like the big problem that I've had, and I've said this a few times on stream, but it sounds kind of memey when I say it, but I realize that like, my own internal thought process is like incredibly at ends with most people. Like it's very, very, very different. And I feel like I'm at a point where it makes more sense to lie about it than it does to be forthcoming about it, because it's impossible to, because other people treat you very differently, or entertain your ideas or thoughts very differently when you're open about it. My dad and I used to have debates as a kid. Do you do this with Nathan much? Not yet, but he's only 7, so I don't even know what. Do you feel you come off as sociopathic to people, akin to the vegan gains debate? No, but I thought I did. But that's my problem, is that I don't think I do. I don't like to use the term sociopath because, one, it's not even an official fucking thing anymore, so it can literally mean whatever edgy thing you want it to mean. But I think that I present my... I think my big problem, is that I've presented my ideas, and I've said what my internal processes are for a long time, but I think there are a lot of people that share my conclusions, and they just kind of assume that I'm being edgy about my internal processes. And this is something that has really bothered me, that I've started to figure out over the past month. I guess it kind of started with the vegan thing, and then like every kind of, as I get into more and more of these kinds of like, conflicts, I start to realize that there's a massive disconnect between between what people think my internal processes are versus what they actually are. And this is like the this is the thing that I guess that I've had the most trouble reconciling over the past, not reconciling, that I've had the most trouble like deciding how I guess I want to treat it over the next part of my life, I guess. I don't know. My sound needs to be on max to hear you properly. I'm pretty sure all of my volumes are as normal as they've ever been. I feel like I share some of your internal processes, but not your conclusions. I wouldn't want you to lie about that stuff because I honestly want to learn more. Yeah, but I don't know if I live like a healthy person. That's like another thing that I've had to come to terms with. That's been like a 2-year process. I don't know if my internal process is something that's like compatible with most people, or if most people could even like take on this type of internal process. It might be actually like incredibly damaging in the long run, and for whatever reason I've avoided it because of for a variety of weird reasons. I don't know. Do you mean you come to the same conclusions as other people but for different reasons? For example, you're empathetic towards people for your own personal benefit rather than just being nice to people? Yeah, that would be like a really simple way to explain it, yeah. Do you still have your normal level of happiness as a frame of reference that you want to go back to? Simply put, do you know how happy you were until your panic attack. Well, I mean, I think that's all worn off now. Whatever I felt like after my panic attack is gone now, for the most part. I'm not worried about that anymore. Have you considered therapy? Well, but the problem with it's not a matter of like I feel like I think I'm happy. I think I'm content. So I don't know if I would necessarily want to change things. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. I think the constant drive for consistency / divorcing feels from rational thought processes is one of the most admirable traits of destiny. Personally, this kind of saddens me to hear, but I don't think that you should. I don't know if you should live your life this way. Like 5 years ago, I would have said that this is the best way to live your life. Like 100%, but I'm not so sure anymore. I don't know about that. I'm like very antisocial. I don't know how to explain it. I never know how to put these things into words, I guess. I feel like there are a lot of like shared experiences that people have that I don't partake in. Like as an example, if something bad happens to me, I don't want anybody to talk to me. I don't want anybody to comfort me. I don't want anybody, not because it's like edgy. It just makes me feel irritated, right? Like there's a lot of stuff like that. Like if I have big decisions I want to make, I never talk to other people. But I'm like, what do you think I should do for this or whatever? Like I usually just feel comfortable making my own. I don't really have any close relationships with people. You know, like there's a lot that goes into like the hyper rationality. And I don't necessarily think it's a healthy thing. I don't think that people should like strive for that. I'm not sure. I don't know. Lots of people feel like that. I don't know if that's true. This is something that this is like another huge like thing that I've I don't know. It's really hard to talk about because there's a lot of people that act like this because it sounds really cringy to say, but because it's like they think they're being really edgy or they're like trying to be like some shonen anime dude that's like cold or whatever. So like my everyday experience becomes kind of like the edgy cloak that some people wear to try to see as cool as possible, to try to seem like really cool. And it's like really, I don't know, it's really hard to talk to other people because like I've had conversations with people that claim to have like live the same kind of like day-to-day experience that I do, but then like invariably, you know, they'll like have a breakdown or something like, oh, like I wish I had someone to love me or blah blah blah, I feel so depressed over this thing. And it's like I don't understand. Like, yeah, I'm not sure. Why would you let retards ruin your thought process / feelings for you? So the thing is that I guess because of what I've reasoned out, I think that if I don't talk about my internal mechanisms much, I think that people in general have a much more positive feeling about who I am. And that's probably better for branding, right? And better for appearances in general. That if somebody comes to my channel and they listen, like, so people, for instance, come to my channel and they will, they'll listen to me, talk about why I'm pro-immigration or anti-racism or something like that, and they come away with this idea that I'm a very warm person that has like a huge love for humanity in my heart, and that like I want to see all people do well, et cetera, for the sake of that. That is absolutely not at all what's going on inside of me. Like everything I do is incredibly self-centered. But I feel like people didn't actually believe me when I said that, and that's where like a lot of this dissonance is coming from, especially recently, where people are like, wait a second, what? You're just being a selfish piece of shit. And it's like, it's how I've always been. Nothing has changed. But I don't think people actually believed it before. But now I think that maybe it makes more sense to just sell that story. Like if you want to believe that I'm filled with warmth and love for all of mankind, maybe I should just shut the fuck up and let people think that, and then keep the more fundamental arguments away, because I mean it's pretty easy to like assume moral systems, right? Like oh well, I think that all people should be treated equally or blah blah blah. Like these are pretty fundamental, easy axioms to like take on and kind of like build moral systems around, because most of my conclusions end up being the same anyway, right? Wouldn't that rub you the wrong way personally? Not really. I mean, I used to lie a lot to advance myself growing up. And I think I'm pretty good at lying, but I mean, I stopped doing it when I started streaming because I figured there's no reason to, because it's my fucking stream. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Why the fuck would I tell a lie to anybody, right? So, I mean, I think it's pretty easy to kind of like obscure like inner thought processes. I mean, right? There's no reason to. One of the most ignorant things you could say no is that you don't believe others understand what you're going through. Not trying to be offensive. There's a lot of people out there who feel much more comfortable alone than with others. Ironically, we don't see others shut in that much because they obviously don't know. Oh, sure, it's possible. I'm just going by who I've talked to, my dude. I'm sure there are a lot of people that feel the same way that I do. I mean, I'm just saying that, like, from my personal experience, like, I don't know. It's just, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm obviously not you, but I know it would feel extremely disingenuous to me in my personal moral system. Yeah, I think I'm actually amoral. I don't think I believe in morality. Well, most people don't believe. Most intelligent people are somewhat morally nihilistic, but I don't know if I would even go as far as to say that like I'm now a nihilistic existentialist. Like pretty much everything I do in terms of like personal decision making or evaluation is usually done from a self-centered point of view. Like, what would I do to make me the most happy? Like, that's literally what every single value is generated from is that thing. And I would take it a step farther and argue that everybody does that, whether they want to admit it or not, because ultimately whatever moral system you choose is a personal choice that is just as arbitrary as any other decision. I'm just being honest about it. I could be wrong on that, though. I have to think more about that because I'm not ready to go on and like accuse other people of doing the same. But yeah, I don't know. It's not true that most intelligent people are moral nihilists. Don't most philosophers agree that there is no like objective morality? You got to do a lot of weird shit to find like objective morality, right? Or you got to be like, you have to believe in some crazy shit to think that humans or morality has some kind of intrinsic or objective worth. I can't tell. Okay, well, I guess we're being real as fuck, so I'm just going to be real as fuck for this whole hour, okay? So if I say something that sounds really condescending or really arrogant, then take it as such, okay? Because I'm very condescending, I'm very narcissistic. Destiny, don't you think that being selfish is extremely destructive to society? That's an incredibly fucking stupid thing to say. Like, being incredibly selfish can be destructive to society, or you could not be a fucking idiot and you could be selfish and have it work well. For instance, if I walk into a place and there's 5 sandwiches and there are 5 coworkers, right? Like I could eat all 5 sandwiches because I'm self-interested. Like, oh, that's how a self-interested person would act. Or I could say like, oh, well, I'll eat one and you guys can all have one because I don't want you all to fucking hate me, because that's going to produce worse outcomes for me than if I like steal all your shit, right? I feel like every time I have these conversations, I see like really basic, like level 1 objections where it's like, well, if you were really selfish, wouldn't you just walk over and rape your neighbor all the time? It's like, well, no, because chances are that would produce some really fucking bad outcomes for me. Yeah. Do you feel as if you have any real friends? If not, does this bother you? Not really. I don't really feel that way. And I don't mean to say that as like a slight against anybody. I mean, like, I enjoy talking to Dan and Devin, but I guess I'm just trying to think that, like, if I had like a really personal problem or something that was like really personal, I don't think I would ever talk to anybody else about it. Like, I don't have like a person like, oh, like I need to, like I'm thinking about dating some girl or whatever, or I'm thinking about like, you know, like I need to make an important decision on whether, I don't think I would ever consult another person. There's not anybody in my life who's like, okay, well, I'll talk to this person. I respect their fit, right? If it's like business related, I might talk to like Devin or Dan or something, but I believe that on a micro level, selfishness is a driving force of humankind isn't corrosive, but when it expands to a macro societal level, it becomes negative and produces bad outcomes. Well, this is why you have to not be an idiot, right? So this is why I would be like in favor of progressive tax policies, even though it means less money for me, because I'm obviously, it's probably going to produce better outcomes for me and my kid, right? And I choose to care about my kids, so. But you're not incredibly selfish then if you adjust your self-interest along with the self-interest of others. Taking the Taking the 5 sandwiches would be a huge benefit to you. If you really didn't care at all, other people could manipulate them into not hating you, which is fairly easy if you don't care about how destructive your actions are. That sounds fantastical. Manipulating people it takes a lot of effort, and is oftentimes not even possible. It really depends on the scenario. I don't understand that. Like, I would steal their sandwiches and then lie to them and say they never had sandwiches, or... If you could theoretically own slaves without any negative repercussions, would you? So these are the kinds of, like, gotcha questions that people like Whoop Boop or people like Vegan Gains or whatever would try to catch me on. And, like, my honest answer to every question would be yes. If you add with no consequences behind it, I probably wouldn't really care. But I guess, like, my challenge would be that everybody more or less functions like that, because moral systems don't really protect anybody anyway, right? Like, no moral system has ever protected somebody from something. It all comes down to who has the ability to enact the force to back up whatever moral system they have regardless, right? You could live in a country with the most moral people ever that all share some moral system, but if a stronger country comes in and bullies you, takes over your shit, it's not like you can sit there and argue, like, well, hold on, like, this is actually, we adhere to this moral system, you need to stop this right now, it's not right. Like, it wouldn't really matter, right? From their perspective, they would, selfishly pick whatever moral system they have, and they would just go down that route, right? Have you ever heard of optimistic nihilism, the idea that helping others in today's society is actually beneficial to the selfish? Yeah, sure, probably. You can probably name like 52,000 things. Like, people have kept doing this. This is why I try not to label myself, because then I get called out on something that these believe that I don't actually believe. Like, I've heard, like, rational self-interest or enlightened self-interest. I've heard egoism. You just brought up this optimistic nihilism. It seems like there's like a million different types of moral systems that might... Extremely rich people gain no benefit from helping the poor, and neither do their kids. Their selfishness maintains their wealth, but doesn't help them well until the revolution occurs. Do you think you have a personality disorder? I'm not sure. Maybe. It's maybe some sort of ASPD. Have you ever been to a therapist? What would I possibly get out of a therapist? I don't understand. Am I an introvert or an extrovert? Probably an extrovert. I enjoy social situations and talking to people and whatnot. Right? Doesn't an extrovert gain energy from talking to people and an introvert loses energy? I don't know. I don't even know if these are, like, real distinctions recognized in psychology or not. Popularized by Carl Jung. Okay. Why is happiness your main goal in life? Why not try to seek out as many power/unique experiences as possible? Well, I mean, if those unique experiences made me happy, then that's what I would seek out, right? Do you experience happiness seeing others you care about being happy, successful, etc.? Not really, no. How much programming do you know, and how did you learn? I program my whole website and Twitch and YouTube. I don't know any programming. I made my first website using HTML and really basic CSS. That's all I ever learned. And then I read the Programming Hubris subreddit a lot so I can laugh at programming-related jokes and pretend I know what it is. Why do you spend so much time complaining about your mom if you don't really care about other people being happy? Complain about my mom for what? I mean, politically, because she drives me fucking crazy. And I think I generally like seeing people happy. I think that it probably is better to have happy people around you than sad or depressed people around you. I guess I'm just not particularly invested in somebody's, like, success or failure. How can you justify not taking bad sponsorships under your moral system? Because I don't... Well, if you're talking about, like, G2A and shit, because I think that G2A is, like, ultimately damaging to, I don't know, to the game industry. It just seems like a fucking shit. Fuck that. I don't know. I don't want to support somebody that makes their money stealing shit. And then for like gambling and shit, I don't know. I really, really, really don't like gambling. I don't think anybody should gamble. It just seems like a bad hombre, dude. Isn't gambling just an expensive hobby like anything else? No, it feels like it capitalizes on people's inability to be rational. Destiny, but how so? How does it affect you? Why not just take the money? Because it makes me feel bad to take money from people that I interpret as scumbags. Why does it make you feel bad? I don't know. It's like an emotional response. Because I actually have an underlying moral system of altruism. Holy shit, you fucking got me. The reason why it feels bad to take advantage of people is because written into my DNA is the moral code of altruism, where I actually have a deep and a huge concern for all people. I can't believe I missed this until now. Thank you. Thank you for enlightening me. Thank you for showing me the way. All right, guys. I'm an altruist now. I'm on the new path, okay? Forget everything I just said. I'll delete the VOD. Here we are, boys. I don't watch that anime Forethought. I don't know why you keep spamming this. You're talking about taking money from people at a no-limit hold'em table? I don't mind playing poker. Gambling is just... I don't know. I view it as like a very... Gambling to me seems really irrational. Well... I guess I don't mind like table games as much. I guess technically you could even play slots responsibly if you really wanted to. But I don't know, the people that I see there, it just seems really sad and pathetic. I don't want to support that kind of an industry. I would think we'd be better off if it didn't exist. Can you count on one hand how many times you've cried in your life? I probably cried a lot when I was like a kid or whatever. The last time I like really remember crying, I think it was probably when my grandpa died when I was like 12 or 13 or whatever. It's been a while. Wait, why not answer that question honestly? I mean, I guess you're saying you're sure it doesn't contradict what you're saying, but you can't articulate it. So the honest answer is that there are things that I like and there are things that I don't like. I don't like gambling. I don't like people that steal. That's it. I just don't. And I don't look at it as like an admirable trait. I don't want to be associated with those types of people. I tend to look down on people that are involved in that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't take money from people doing that kind of stuff. Even if I personally gain from it, I'd say fuck them. I don't want them to gain from me. It's just something that I personally am not okay with. But I think that people like Fusion are trying to trap me into this, or give me this, well, look, so you actually really do have a genuine care for other people. Why do you hate people that steal? You must hate people that steal because you don't want other people to be wronged. And that's actually a very admirable, selfless trait of you. And I'm pretty sure that's the road that they're trying to walk me down. But I don't know. It's just a personal feeling. I don't really like. I don't think I need or I'm not looking for external justification or some type of written. It's just like yeah. Do you just not have a lot of empathy? I don't think so. Not generally. How would the system function without becoming fucking insane? If you were ludicrously rich and powerful, there are circumstances where the bad outcomes you're talking about wouldn't apply. Then you would just be insanely fucking powerful. I don't know. You'd enslave people. You'd fuck workers over. You'd be insanely fucking wealthy. Maybe the conditions at your workshops would be horrible. Maybe you'd export value chains into other countries where people are taken advantage of. I mean, this is happening today. It already happens all the time, right? At the end of the day, it just comes down to who's got the ability to enforce their moral system, right? We're not trying to gotcha, man. Seriously, it's just interesting to consider the complexities and contradictions of your system. Well, I don't think it's very complex at all. It's literally just like, if there's something that I enjoy, that's typically what I'll do. And then I try to use a rational thought process to make sure that everything I do doesn't ultimately end up being like super self-destructive. Yeah. It seems kind of tautological to be like, I feel like this because I feel like this. There's some reason why you dislike well, it is a tautology though. That's my whole point, right? The problem, the fundamental problem with something that's tautological is that it's arbitrary, right? It is because it is. But that's what I'm saying. All moral systems are because they are. It's an arbitrary choice to choose between one or the other, right? At the end of the day, you're doing something that is your personal preference. No? Even if you're doing something selfless, it's because you choose to do it. It's because you have this preference towards some moral system. Nobody's forcing you to choose, unless somebody's literally forcing you to choose it with a gun or some shit. Well, but then even at that, you're choosing to live rather than die and not adhere to some other moral system, right? Didn't you say that you abide by the golden rule? That used to be what I would say. And in general, I think I do. But the problem that I've run into is that I think that people think that I abide by the golden rule because the golden rule in and of itself is like a very noble thing to abide by. That you love or you respect other people so they respect you because you're trying to, for whatever fucking reason, you respect mankind or some shit, right? Whereas the way that I got there, or, you know, people would always say I do social contract. The way that I get there is via via selfishness, right? Sure, the system isn't complex, but how you come to ideas of what's good and bad and how to stay consistent probably has some difficulties, even if you think you're doing well at it. I don't know if I'm doing particularly well at it, but it's basically whatever I think would ultimately benefit me based on what I choose, right? I didn't realize you were a moral anti-realist. Sure. Do you agree with the statement, people should strive to be rational? If yes, what non-moral reason do you have for that? I mean, I value rationality because I think it leads to the best outcomes by being rational. I guess if some dude is like crazy fucking religious though, then I guess they wouldn't value it. And I mean, that'd be their choice. But I mean, it's not like I could ever convince them of my system regardless, right? How many people that are hardcore religious are going to be swayed by some other moral system? Right? At the end of the day, don't people just choose what they want? You're right when you say you might have some kind of ASPD or autism because apparently neurotypical people don't care about being hypocrites when it comes to a moral system. What have I said so far that's hypocritical, buddy? Let it all out, alright? It's a judgment-free zone, my dude. Best outcomes in what sense? In whatever you treasure as a good outcome, I guess. If your goal is to become super fit, then the outcomes you're looking for are going to be related to health, right? You might eat bad food or bad tasting food because it leads to better outcomes for health because that's what you subjectively choose to value. Or maybe you just want to, you value the day-to-day experience. So you don't you don't eat a lot of healthy food and you eat kind of shitty, whatever, but it's because you value the day-to-day experience. You're not looking, right? It's whatever each person subjectively decides to value, right?